Okay, so we'll start. Hello everyone. Welcome to BritCham Indonesia webinar series, DKI Jakarta Takes on COVID-19, Business Communities Have Roles and Responsibilities. I'm Asti, Events Coordinator at BritCham Indonesia. Today's webinar is proudly supported by the British School Jakarta and JIIPE. Joining us today are our distinguished speaker and panelists, Bapak Wijayanto Samirin, Senior Economic Advisor to the Governor of Jakarta, and Mr. Dimitris Kostianis, Managing Director of Cussons Asia. This webinar will be moderated by Chris Ren, our Executive Director. And before we start, please allow me to review a little bit about the functionality of the Zoom webinar. So please be informed that today's webinar is being recorded and we will be able to share a link with you when it's available after the webinar is complete. All participants will be muted to avoid background noises that may distract you from listening to the webinar, and also to enable our speaker and panelists to present without interruption. We have also activated the Q&A box located at the bottom center of your screen. So if you have any questions, please type them into the box at any time. And we will have time for Q&A session at the end to answer to your questions. Okay, so now I'm going to hand the screen over to Chris Ren, who is going to start today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Asti, and welcome to everybody. We have guests from both sides of our respective ponds, and by that I mean Indonesia and the UK. So to people in the UK, good morning. To people in Indonesia, good late afternoon to you, running towards your evening. Absolutely delighted to welcome our guests today, but before I do so, just to repeat our thanks and acknowledge our partners for this particular webinar, which are the British School Jakarta, BSJ, and also the Java Integrated Industrial Ports Estate, JIIPE. Thank you very much for your support. As Asti has mentioned, as you have seen in the various promotional publications, we have two guests. Our principal speaker is Pak Wijayanto Samirin, and to make it easy for me, he likes to go by Wija, Pak Wija, so that's very easy. Pak Wija is the was the economic advisor to Vice President Yusuf Kalla from 2014 to 2018. He has over 100 papers that have been extensively published across mainstream media as well, and is currently the economic advisor to Bapak Anies, Governor Anies. Dimitris Kostianis, who will join us as a panel guest to respond to the presentation by Pak Wija, and also to help me through some of the questions that we've already received and some conversational pieces as well. 25 years of professional experience in FMCG and currently managing director of PZ Cussons, well known for their manufacturing and retailing of baby and healthcare products. Welcome to both of you. As mentioned, we will start with a presentation by Pak Wija, where really we are looking at the support, the roles and the responsibilities that the business communities need to be making to the policy initiatives of the DKI government currently in combating some of the impacts of the COVID virus, social impacts and also economic impacts as well. As mentioned, please do use the Q&A on your screen. We'll try to take as many as possible. A number of questions have already been received by us prior to this. Some of them are of a similar nature. Forgive me if I take the opportunity to bundle those questions for convenience, but we'll try to get through as many as possible. with that, I would like to hand the baton to Pak Wija to get us going with the more formal presentation part of this particular BritCham webinar. Thank you, Pak.
Thanks a lot, Pak Chris, for the opportunity to have a conversation with a lot of notable persons through this Zoom call meeting. I think today we will discuss something that is very important, very crucial, not only for Jakarta, but also for city in the UK, like London, because COVID-19 is also a big problem there. It is very important for us to share what has been done and what will do by government of Jakarta, so we can share, information, as well as Jakarta currently is the epicenter of the COVID-19 in Indonesia. The government tried very hard to mitigate, the impact of COVID economically, socially. But of course, without the help of the people, the business community, this effort will be very, very tough and probably almost impossible to be successful. I would like to start the presentation by slide 2, please. By 3 waves that we'll face, and some of them we have faced. So the picture of Indonesia and the picture of Jakarta can be depicted by this very simple diagram. We have faced a pandemic wave, and then we also is facing economic disturbance, the second wave, and we have to be very careful because the pandemic can create economic wave, and then economic wave, if we don't mitigate it correctly, it can create a social unrest, social problem, because the situation of Indonesia is different with the situation of countries in the Europe. Country in the Europe, most of the people have saving. In Indonesia, only those who are prosperous have enough saving, and the rest basically live from day to day. Work today, eat today, and so on and so forth. Many of them live in an informal sector. They don't have enough saving. So if economic disturbance happen and the government don't do anything to provide the poor with support such as food and so on and so forth, then it can easily become social unrest, just like what happened in 1998. And if social unrest happen, it will create circular, it will create a more terrible economic disturbance. That's why the strategy of Indonesian government, to be more specific, Jakarta government at the moment, we work very hard to mitigate the pandemic, and at the same time we introduce various economic stimulus for the business community, for the small medium enterprises, and at the same time we work very hard to ensure that the poor are fulfilled their need of food and so on and so forth. That's the focus of our government at the moment. On the question and answer session, of course, we can discuss about what's the economic impact of Indonesia, what kind of GDP growth we're facing this year, what shape of recovery we will face, V shape or W shape or U shape or L shape, or combination between V and L and so on and so forth. We can discuss that on the question and answer session. But before we go there, I would like to share you that this economic crisis is different compared to the economic crisis we faced in 1998. That's the most terrible crisis over the last 60 years in Indonesia, because this crisis is crisis that experienced by everybody, the people and also small medium enterprises. The crisis in 1998 is a crisis that experienced by mostly corporate who experience, who participates in export and import. So this is quite a complicated situation for Indonesia. We can discuss about the economic situation later on. Now, in this discussion, I would like to focus on the initiative that just introduced by the governor of Jakarta a week ago. An initiative to engage, corporation, business, people to support the people who are in need. So basically, the basic ideas is the governor would like to invite the strong to help the weak. In Jakarta, the picture is quite interesting. At the moment, we have around 6.8 million of people who have saving. They are the lucky one. And we have 3.7 million people who has no saving. They are the weak. They are, laid off people, people who work in an informal sector, orphan, old people, or non-registered Jakarta's people. The number is around 3.7 million people. And those people currently need support, even, basic food. Probably many of them cannot afford to buy. That's why the government, central government, together with the government of Jakarta, they have what's so-called by social program to provide food delivered to the people. Of course, since we anticipate that the crisis, that the situation will stay for quite some time, and the fiscal situation of the government, whether it is central government or Jakarta government, is not that strong. That's why we would like to invite the participation of the business community to be part of this effort. It is very important because we see the people, the poor people, the people in need, they are more appreciative if they receive donation or support from the people, from the business community, not from the government. Because if it is support from the government, they will see that it's just a responsibility. Yeah, the government has the responsibility to support. But if the support came from the people, the business community, we see that the people in need, the recipient of the support, will think it differently. So when we are talking about, maintaining the social fabric of the society, support from business community and from the common people is more effective in this sense. The situation in Jakarta also, often people would like to support, but they don't know how. And secondly, oftentimes, a certain area get a lot of support and many other areas got very minimal or perhaps no support because, it is not really approachable. It's located not in a strategic areas. That's why the government of Jakarta would like to create a system to enable people to support others, to enable the support to be distributed equally if possible among areas in Jakarta. Next slide. So the government create a system that provide information to potential donor. Later on, we'll see, if we have time, we'll see a demos from our colleague, how the system works. Based on the system, you can visit a website in which you can see the map of Jakarta based on village association. And then you can see, which villages are actually very poor, or they are quite prosperous, and so on and so forth. And also you can have information, location of orphanage, and then nursing house, Islamic boarding school, and so on and so forth that may need support. So using those systems, potential donors can pick an areas in which they plan to support. And when they decide to support and the support materialize, the information about the support will be recorded there. So it will avoid duplication of support. And secondly, for donors, it will provide information about, how many people need in this area, what kind of thing that they are need, and then when they need, because probably for this week, for next week, some donor already fulfill their need, and so on and so forth. So basically, this system provide very transparent information for potential donor, and potential donor can support the recipient, the people, directly with the assistance of with the support from the government of Jakarta. Donors can provide support directly. Some business, some corporation prefer to do that, but of course there are some business communities, some corporation who don't have the infrastructure, the team to deliver the support directly. That's why the government of Jakarta appoint several aggregator. This is institution that has been certified by the government of Jakarta to collect support from business community. So business community can provide the support, engage with aggregator, and then the aggregator will deliver the support to the recipient. And we, the government of Jakarta, really encourage that the support should under the name of the business or the private donors, not the government, because the social impact will be bigger that way. Next slide. This is the one of the page of the website in which, if you visit this website, you can see the map of Jakarta. Basically, that's it has 2,600 villages, and you can pick the villages from the map. The darker it is, the poorest they are. So if you click those villages, you can get information about who is the village's chairman, how many poor families there, and then what support they need. And when donors realize the support, then the color of the village will change, from dark red into lighter red, and then into white, if a lot of support have been received by the village. So this system is quite informative, powerful, giving necessary information for potential donor. With that, it avoid village who get too many support and village who get less support from the business community and from the people. Next slide. This is the package of aid, just for reference only. Next slide. So this is the aggregator that we have. So we have appoint 6 aggregator. Business community can pick one of them, and then with the help of us, our team, you can communicate with them and decide, which area, which village you would like to support, and what kind of support you would like to provide. So basically, that's my presentation. I try to make it short and simple, so we have more time to have Q&A. It can be Q&A in regard to Indonesia economy, politics, or so on and so forth. But of course, technical question about this program is also welcome. Thank you, Pak Chris. Hope you find it important and interesting.
Thank you very much, Pak Wija. Very, very to the point, some excellent slides. And I think that, for somebody who's like myself, 23 years in Indonesia and all of them spent in Jakarta, the realization that there are 2,686 villages within this domain is quite a staggering realization as well, the extent of the challenge in difficult times like this. I think we fully appreciate and understand the need for DKI to reach out to the, as you put it, to the strong among the communities, which include the business communities as well, in order for them to be able to, first of all, identify where and how they might like to provide support during these times, and getting that support targeted in the right way. That was just my initial sort of, wow, 2,686 villages. This is complex. This is extensive. At this stage, I'd just like to bring in Dimitri, if I may. As mentioned, Dimitri is Managing Director of PZ Cussons. Of course, Pak Wija, we do understand that whilst the economic and social support is very, very important, it has also been necessary to get the support and collaboration of businesses, whether they're offices, whether they're manufacturing or whatever, in compliance with guidance and regulations to make the working environment more safe, to try and work as hard as possible to minimize the impact of perhaps laying workers off or changing financial terms, and so on. And I just, at this stage, as a manufacturer, I'd just like to ask Dimitri to just share a little bit in terms of what PZ Cussons has needed to do in response to government guidance in support of safety, security of your staff, your workforce, and ultimately of getting your getting your products to market, some of which are essential products, so that the consumers' daily lives are less impacted too.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris, for the invitation, and thank you, Pak Wija, for the useful information about Jakarta. If I might just say, selamat sore semuanya, and possibly good morning to some of our colleagues who are joining us from far away. Yes, so I think the COVID-19 has presented obviously a challenge across industries, right? And, my company is not unique, and I think the way we responded possibly is not different to the way other manufacturers here in Indonesia have responded. And for us, we recognize in a way there were three pillars that we need to respond. First of all, it was around the people, and I will elaborate on that. And second, about business continuity. And the third one is what we take forward. Because as with everything, there's always learnings, there's always improvements that we can take forward into the post-COVID or the new norm, as a lot of people describe it. I think on the people, it's a very clear objective. It's the health and safety of the people who work for us, the health and safety of the families of those individuals, and further than that, how we extend helping hand to the communities where we currently participate, where we currently operate. So, guided by we use the guidance of the Indonesian government, we use the guidance of Jakarta and Tangerang, because Tangerang is where our factory is located in terms of what we should do and what we shouldn't do. I think there is exception in our case in terms of manufacturing because of the products that we make available. But beyond that, majority of the people work for PZ Cussons as early as in March. We moved from work from home situation. Again, I said this is quite common practice, and we have seen among a lot of companies here in Indonesia. So we have maintained that up to May, and subject to how things unfold, the new directives will come from Jakarta or from the Indonesian government. We'll see how that is going to change in the month of May or in the month of June. From a lot of the work we've been doing about the people in the community has been concentrated around prevention, right? How we can help individuals not to fall sick at the end of the day, right? So a lot about the health hygiene, education to our people, I say stay at home, and then also trying to encourage them to actually not stay at home during working hours, but stay at home during the 24 hours, because that's the only possible way that we can contain the virus and flatten the curve, as everybody says. And I think to the communities, through cooperation with a number of bodies, recently we presented with the help of funding and donation to the government in Jakarta. We have cooperated with the Ministry of Health, JIIPE, another hospital here in Jakarta, Fatmawati, and CTARSA, who is a more longer-term partner in baby, and try to make some of these healthcare products available to the wider community, because I think, as Wicha said earlier, people do need that. They need the food, they need the protection from the virus. I say, again, based on what I have read, based on what I've heard, I don't think Cussons is unique in that. In a lot of companies operating in Indonesia have responded in a very good manner, respecting the place where we operate, and try to help back the community. And I think it's a big credit to a lot of people here in Indonesia. After people, we go through business continuity, and within business continuity, a number of things here. And I think there is an element of, what as a company we need to do for our owners, the shareholders and a number of other people, but also relate a little bit to the first objective of the people, because some of the categories where we operate, actually they were very important for the current situation. We do a lot of personal care, for example, antibacterial products, and being able to continue manufacturing those and making this available on the shelf during this pandemic, it was very important, because then the Indonesian consumers have a chance of, looking after themselves and their well-being even more. But of course, you go into the more corporate objectives, where you say you still need to deliver your sales, you still need to deliver your financial objectives for the year, because you need to meet the expectations of your people who have invested in you, i.e. the shareholders, but also because ultimately you need to guarantee employment for the people who work for you, right? And currently in Indonesia, we employ approximately 1,000 people. So being able to continue doing business in this environment is very important for all of them, and to be able to guarantee that there is an income that they can take home, at the end of the month. So that was very important. The third element of business continuity for us is because we are within our group, we're a manufacturing hub for other countries, and so we had to maintain as much as we could, despite all the supply chain disruption that happened post-February, and supply to those markets, right? And that is equally important because, product was exported out of Indonesia and generated forex for the benefit of Indonesia, as well as obviously it arrived to help people in other parts of the world. So for business continuity, it was all that was very important. I have to say, and that is linked a little bit to the third pillar, things have been quite tough, particularly from a supply chain disruption. And of course, this is nothing to do with the Cussons supply chain. I think naturally, we found a lot of factories outside Indonesia closing for a period of time. Transportation business disrupted, and therefore arrival of materials within the lead times, as manufacturers like to call them, start becoming very difficult. So you start getting shortages of certain products, and on top of that, some other products seem to be more favored or more appropriate in this time. I have to say, big credit there, and well done to the Ministry of Health and people, the way they responded during this time. I think the government of Indonesia, supported by the governors around, realized the need to improve the supply of some of these products quickly into the local market to help consumers here in Indonesia. And they made the requirements from a licensing regulation point of view a lot softer, a lot faster, right? They gave companies the opportunity to be able to deliver product into the market much faster than we normally did because of the previous arrangements. And I would say, given what we can see now 2-3 months later, that objective was achieved. A lot of that product was made available on time and in full, as we would like to say, and that is helping further the protection of the consumers here in Indonesia. And I would say this is something reflecting back as to what worked well during this time is one of those things possibly we all need to take forward and consider, should we continue doing it the same way? If we do cooperate with responsible corporate citizens, my company, but other companies as well, who will not take advantage of softer regulation, maybe this is something that we need to consider for the future and keep it there. Less bureaucratic, less expensive, and much faster as far as the market is concerned. And the third one, related to that, is what do we take forward? It is true that COVID-19 has brought a lot of challenges to Indonesia as well as the rest of the world. As with everything, there's always a silver lining. So to us as a company, it has given us the opportunity to try and see, does work from home work well? Can we remain productive? Do we have sufficient tools in order for people to connect when they are not sitting next to each other, etc., etc., etc. Plus, I said the other example about the regulation, which I think is a very big learning and a very big well done to the people involved in making that decision. So a lot of useful things, I would say, Chris, at the end of the day, that we can take forward as well into the post-pandemic area.
Excellent. A very positive note for us to close on. So clearly, DKI government is very hopeful that positive lessons can be learned, particularly in relation to the use going forward of digitization, technology, and so on. I think if it wasn't clear already, Pak Wija, please take back to everybody at your administration that there is a very positive approach to the challenges from the BritCham corporate membership and the BritCham wider community as well. There are some very, very good opportunities for those within our community and that are on this call to still pick up the mantle of providing support, being one of the strong, trying to reach out to help some of the weak, and there are different ways being highlighted to do it as well. From my perspective, representing the British Chamber of Commerce, I find it very, very encouraging that the Jakarta administration has been very, very strategic in its approach to what are unprecedented challenges. So I think we're all grateful for that, Pak Wija. I do apologize if we haven't been able to take all of the questions as they came in. We tried to bundle as many as we could. We will take a note of those questions that were not answered and share them wherever we can. It might be possible that you can get a personal response. With that, for me, really to thank everybody for joining us, in particular, to thank our partners who are the British School Jakarta, or BSJ, Jakarta, and Java Integrated Industrial Ports Estate, JIIPE, but in particular to thank our guest speaker, Senior Economic Advisor to the Governor, Pak Anies, Pak Wija, and to Dimitris Kostianis, Managing Director of PZ Cussons. Thank you very much to everybody. You've got about 15 minutes, those who are fasting to buka puasa, so in advance selamat buka puasa, and we look forward to welcoming you to another BritCham webinar next week when we tackle the digitization opportunities. Thank you, Pak Wija. Thank you, Dimitris.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone on this call.